You know what? I kind of think. I don't know if I really should do this, but I kind of want to go on a rant about Fallout 4, and honestly, the main thing I can say about this, and generally with all the recent Bethesda games, if you've played Skyrim and Fallout 4, the two most recent, they're missing quite a lot. And this is really apparent to most people. And yet, for some reason, this seems to be, like, almost overlooked with it. Okay, so we'll start with Fallout 4. And for Fallout 4, the things that were improved with it, customizing with gear options, I think that was improved. Having layers, but that might have been a feature already. And like I said, I've only played Fallout 4. And the followers have somewhat of a story, and the shooting was improved so that it was actually usable. So that was, a nice little thing about it. On the other hand, this is Bethesda, and the best thing they're known for today is making their famous RPG less of an RPG. I mean, at this rate, Call of Duty, which has been trying to, at least they're trying to innovate by adding ridiculous features that are so over the top, even though it's going to die. At least they're doing something. They're trying to add leveling systems, try to make their gun variations more in depth, and all of that. And granted, Fallout 4 does have this, but so does Call of Duty. And Call of Duty is not known for being an RPG. And when you have Fallout 4 being compared to Call of Duty, it's like, do you even want to hold the title of RPG anymore? It sounds like you're just trying to make some fucking ripoff. Because honestly, when it comes to Fallout 4, besides having those two nice little things, they are apparently missing bullet crafting, which was a big thing in the other Fallout games. I have no idea, I've never played them, but that's apparently missing. And the story in it, absolute dog shit. I didn't even want to complete it, it was so bad. Like, the other quest lines involving the Brotherhood of Steel and the other ones, like, the characters in it almost seemed cartoonish. The only character I legitimately liked in the game was Kellogg. And who else did I like in that game? Kellogg? And who else did I even have with me the entire time? I don't remember. See, that's the thing. I don't even remember the characters I like because they were forgettable too. I mean, the first character you meet, Preston Garvey, he is regarded as probably one of the most annoying and flat characters in the game, and he's the first thing you encounter outside. And beyond that, what else does the game have that's kind of good? Maybe the housing system, which, at best, is lackluster. I mean, yeah, you can make a base, but there's no point to doing it. And there's no, like, the base is not even feels like a base. It just feels like a place where you just store shit you hog, because most of us are going to be hoggers to a degree. So it felt like a house that you had to build, and that was kind of nice, and that was a feature most people wanted. So I'll give them credit. That's the one thing they added that was nice. The rest of it, though, they added the reputation system. Apparently that was in the other games. That's gone, apparently. I mean, a reputation system kind of adds to a whole lot of immersion because it gives your consequences, or your actions, I should say, consequences. It makes them somewhat impactful. It's like, okay, if I do this, I gotta think about the ramifications. You don't gotta fucking do that in Fallout 4. You can steal and kill fucking anything and that doesn't give a shit. Like, I can go into the middle of whatever bloody city that is, and it's on the baseball field. I can't remember what it is. Diamond City, that's what it is. Diamond City. You can go there and shoot whoever the fuck you want. It doesn't matter. And for a large portion of time, your actions, you just seem to float in the wasteland. Like, main story, who cares? Like, you can complete the main story within like 5 minutes. And what ends up happening is that you blow up something, and that's about it. And it's just like, okay, at least the choice is that the three factions, they all have opposing ideals that are somewhat justifiable. So, decent storytelling there. The issue is that the characters massively suck. it was predictable beyond a doubt that your kid turned into father. That was predictable beyond belief. Like, when I first started up the game, it's just like, okay, so someone steals my kid and I go back to freezing. So I can see this playing out in two obvious fashions. One, the kid is just gone, and I'm going to be so heartbroken when I find that out. Or my kid's going to be like a antagonist for the rest of the series. And yep, it turns out to be a generic antagonist. And then you're morally torn in between. It's just like, okay, so kind of generic story. Alright. And, I mean, this game is just like, it feels like I said, it's missing something. It's missing a hell of a lot more depth than what it used to have. And this is not really a new thing. This is kind of symptomatic of Bethesda's choices altogether. And this is really apparent. I mean, it's apparent in Fallout 4, but it's apparent in Skyrim too. Because both of them have systems that are stripped away. Fallout 4, it's missing a reputation system, it's missing bullet crafting, it has a housing system, but it's pointless. It's missing a decent story, it's missing characters they actually give a shit about, that aren't just like, oh, a generic village 110 is under attack by 3 giants that the NPCs are so unqualified to fucking handle. Oh, and on top of that, I want to make one thing clear. Bethesda games, super fucking easy. Like, in Skyrim, I could be using a heavy armor guy with a 2-handed sword, and I'll never encounter a single bit of resistance. I mean, the only resistance you'll encounter is at low level when, like, the scaling is all messed up. But as soon as you pass, like, level 20, the game gets super fucking easy. But like I said, 2 games, Skyrim and Fallout 4, both of them are missing things. In Skyrim, compared to Morrowind or other games, Oblivion, apparently they were missing a shiitake ton of dungeons. Which I find to be hilarious. A game that gets more and more traction and more money as the series goes on, and they produce less content. Okay, then you may be asking, well, maybe the content there was better. And it's just like, oh, okay. I played the game for maybe 20 hours. And, okay, 30 hours, but reasonably I didn't know there was a fast traveling system. So I walked everywhere. But admittedly, even if I did fast travel, I wouldn't have played Skyrim for very long at all. Not even enough to justify a $60 price tag. I literally just did the main storyline because nothing else interested me. And then once I learned that there was a huge modding community out for this game, I was just like, maybe I can get into this. Maybe I can, you know, maybe add some mods. Add 200 mods later, the game actually looks good now because it looked like shit. Even for when it was first released, PC game looked like garbage. They had to actually included a DLC to increase the graphical intensity of the game because it was so abysmally low. And the first thing, it's like you see in Skyrim, it's like, okay, change the UI, because the UI was shit. And that was honestly a big hindrance, because it was clunky and unplayable to an unholy extent to do a bunch of stuff in the game. And then after that, okay, what else is missing here? It's like there's not a lot of, you know, high-depth combat. Most of the skills are either increase your HP, increase your resistance by X amount, increase your resistance to this by X amount, increase your damage with this weapon by X amount, increase your damage with this weapon by X amount. If you use this weapon, you get a bonus. It's just like, this is bloody stupid. The only thing that had a complexity to it was the smithing and enchanting and alchemy when you combined it, because that actually had multiple layers to it. This, it was so flat and one-dimensional. Like, there wasn't anything with shield charging or anything like that. Acrobatics, nothing like that. And then when I see, like, gameplay videos of older, not Skyrim, but of older Elder Scrolls games, and I see, you know, multiple spells taken out, multiple skill categories taken out, just a lot of this depth to the game. It's like, yeah, the game looks like potatoes, but at least it has some depth to it so that it would actually want to increase replayability. The only thing that made Skyrim replayable was that it had mods. That was the only thing that made it good, is that it had a very large mod base that was able to compensate for Bethesda for all of their shitty shortcomings. And this is gonna happen with Fallout 4. The game sucks massive dongs right now. And the only way I'll ever go back to it is if they have a decent amount of modding, and mods won't be good for at least another couple of months, or maybe never, because I can't imagine there being a whole lot of mods. The only mods I see right now on Fallout 4 are just guns from other games. It's just like, oh, that gun from there, that gun in real life, that's another gun in real life. It's like, okay. So nothing's changing combat or making housing systems a little bit more challenging or anything like that. It's just like, okay. Any interesting characters? Nope, not yet. It takes time to write dialogue and get voice acting in and all that. So it's just like, okay, what can we do in Fallout 4? It's like Far Harbor, that came out. And apparently that was like okay received. There was a decent amount of story from what I understand. But every other DLC, the Wasteland Workshops, everyone's just like, yeah, this is a crock of shit. I mean, the only thing that's going to be looking like it's going to be decently worth it is the Vault one, which just looks... I mean, if it's anything like the current housing system, it's just going to be the expanded housing system, except now underground. I'm pretty sure there's already a housing or a type of mod where you can already build basements in the base game itself. They create cells and shit like that. So, I mean, it already looks like Bethesda's behind on the modding community, and the modding community didn't even have the, its little tools to fuck with the game for another couple of months after the game was released. And it's not that I dislike Fallout 4, I did enjoy it for what it was, although probably most of my enjoyment was just going around searching for materials and building, because I do like building, that is one thing. I do like that feature in the game. That was a positive. Probably one of the main features of the game was the building. But after like maybe an hour or so of building, you've basically explored everything because there's like no depth to it. You can't even like interact with 90% of the objects. It's like you put down a couch, you can sit on it. That's like the extent of you do it. Like, ooh, that's just great. You can do absolutely nothing here. I mean, you can assign NPCs, but all the NPCs do is they act like soakers, or they just soak up a lot of the damage from NPCs that might invade the town. So I mean, it's just like the housing system became irrelevant pretty quickly. I mean, you just could put one box down and just shove all your shit in there, and that was about it. And the only other thing the housing option was good for was that it allowed for easy integration for other systems in the game to come flourish. So, you know, a better alchemy system, better armor crafting system, a bullet crafting system, and all these other crafting systems that were not in the base game to be added by modders in an easier fashion. So in a sense, I guess they did make the game a little bit more modular. But making the game modular only... To me, when I hear a game has mods, I think, yeah, that's a good thing. Is the base game itself good? And for a large portion of time... It seems Bethesda is kind of using mods as a crutch now. And that's what kind of terrifies me about it. It's just like, okay, you got a nice game here, and let's just not fucking work on it. Let's just hype the shit up and not do shit. So then we got Bethesda here stripping out systems because they're too lazy to fucking implement it. And by the way, they reused the same engine from fucking Skyrim and added like one or two things. Holy crap. The game looks bad, even for today's standards. And on top of that, NPCs look like shit. But back on the topic about mods, is that I think Bethesda is now using them as a crutch. I mean, that was a main selling point to Fallout 4 on PC, was that they'll add mod support. Ooh, fucking great. Great things to happen. On top of that, that's had poor integration as is, because there's already been a huge amount of mod stealing already. But on top of that, it's just like, okay, now you got the mods for the selling point. Why don't you sell the game instead of having the fans sell the game for you? Like, I shouldn't have to go down and download like 7,000 mods and then just to get a decent leveling system that isn't so shit. I mean, even in Fallout 4, I just noticed this, is that its predecessors are like Morrowind and Oblivion, where they had more complex systems, and now in this one, none. Even the amount of attributes that you could spend your points into, that was greatly reduced. And so now Bethesda is like, okay, well, we can go for the streamlining process to appease a wider base by making our game, I guess, less complex to lower the bar. Because what Bethesda is doing, they're making their game more and more streamlined by making the systems more fluid while taking out a lot of the complexity of the game. And while it's not inherently wrong, the issue is that they take out the complexity to the point where the game doesn't really have a lot of difference in playability. It's just like you play it in this one fashion, and that's the extent of it. Like, I played Fallout 4, it's just like, okay, you can either be Punching Man, where you one-shot everybody with this electric fist, or you can be a couple of assault classes. But I mean, there isn't anything that increases an assault class. There isn't anything that makes a sniper class. There isn't anything that makes like a raider class or anything like that. They basically just have like, you increase your gun damage or your VATs do more. It's just like, are you pulling my leg right now? So you're telling me I can either do more damage or have the game play itself better. You're joking me right now, right? Right? You're joking me. And so here's when the mods come in. It's like, alright, mods, pick up our slack and make the game for us. Okay, we'll redo the skill system. We'll add more interesting NPCs. We'll make the housing system a little bit more dynamic. Add a little bit more complexity. Add potted plants. You know, do a couple of nice things. And you know, this housing system will be nice and dandy. And we'll allow for expanded crafting options. That'll be really nice. It's like, oh, expanded crafting options, you say? We could probably sell that in DLCs of our own. And 3 shit DLCs later. And that's why they're getting like an absolute shitty review on Steam now. Like, the game is getting panned on Steam. Like, once the hype died down, the reviews started getting negative. And to be honest, that is totally justifiable. Because Bethesda is getting lazy. They're getting lazy. They're taking out more and more systems to make the game easier to play to a wider base of people, but at the same time taking out the systems that make it complex, the games that make it replayable, like the systems that actually make it interesting and panning it. They think World of Warcraft is doing great things by making the game play itself, by making the game easier and more accessible to more people. Do you think it's doing better by instantly leveling your character to 100? World of Warcraft is basically doing a streamlining process of its own, and they're losing subs in bucket loads. And this is what's happening to Bethesda. They're just streamlining their game, and this is bad because it doesn't allow you to set up for multiple series. It doesn't allow you to improve. It just gives the consumer the idea. It's like, okay, you're taking out systems. Next time, what is your next game going to be? It's like, your next game is basically going to be Call of Duty. Like, Bethesda is streamlining their game so much, it probably will be at the same RPG level as Call of Duty or less. And the way it seems like, Call of Duty is trying to implement more RPG systems to make their games seem fresh, while Bethesda is taking theirs out to make it easier to access. But this is the problem of low expectations, the ignorance of low expectations. It's like, yeah, it's easier to a wider audience, but guess what? You lose all your fucking character. And no one's gonna want to play this shit. And I guarantee you, what's gonna happen is that next time, when the next game rolls around in 17 years, what is the next one coming out? It was a Prey or Dishonored, or wherever the fuck it is. Yeah, those will probably do fine because they have RPG systems that are not developed by Bethesda. But their next Elder Scrolls game or their next Fallout game, those will probably be so streamlined, so washed and devoid of character so plain and average that it will have a mediocre sales response unless they overhype it to the most unholy fucking extent. Because with Bethesda's fan base, they probably will overhype it to shit. But it will be so devoid of character that no one's going to be wanting to play it. It's just like, okay, I'm going to play this for 5 minutes and then forget about it. Like, there's going to be no sort of reason to play this game. And when it comes to it in the end, I feel bad for Fallout 4. Feel bad for Elder Scrolls. But there is some hope. With Bethesda shitting on their own license, there is one good alternative. It's this, Elder Scrolls Online. And that is the one Elder Scrolls game right now that has at least some complexity to it. It has classes, it has stones, it has crafting in it, it has item sets, it has 7,000 more RPG elements than Bethesda's game. And even though this game was shit on at release because of all its bugs, it actually improved. It wanted to be better. The ZeniMax knows how to take care of their license better than Bethesda. At least this company gives a shit about it. Bethesda, get your shit together, otherwise you're going to fail like World of Warcraft in 10 years.